Okay, Pre-Cal, we are still in section 5.2 of Unit 2, and we are going to discuss reference angles in this video. Okay, things you need to understand about a reference angle. What is it? Well, a reference angle is always an acute angle, which means it always measures less than 90 degrees. It is always going to be a positive angle, and it is always formed by the terminal side of a given angle and the x-axis. What does that mean? That means in order to find a reference angle, you first have to be given an angle. So a given angle, and we'll just call it theta. Let's say I give you theta, you measure theta, and then you find its reference angle. So that is how we think about reference angles. So I've got a little picture for you here to display what this would look like in each of the four quadrants. So if we're in quadrant 1, and I give you a reference angle, or sorry, I give you an angle, let's say theta. I am going to create that angle, and if it's acute, and if it's in quadrant 1 and it's positive, that's why we know it's in quadrant 1, if it's positive and acute, that means that the reference angle for this angle theta is going to be itself. Okay, they're equal to each other. Because the reference angle is always acute, check. It's always positive, check. And it is always formed by the terminal side of a given angle, theta, and the x-axis, check, check. Okay, what about quadrant 2? If we're in quadrant 2, I give you an initial angle of theta, and it terminates in quadrant 2. Well, this time, since we're in quadrant 2, the angle can't be equal to its reference angle because this angle theta is too big. Okay, see, it's clearly more than 90 degrees. So that means that we have got to find the reference angle associated with that angle. Remember, it's formed by the terminal side of the given angle, so that would be this right here, and the x-axis. Well, it's the x-axis closest to it that would make sure that angle is acute. So that would be the reference angle right there. Okay, quadrant 3. If we're in quadrant 3, that means our angle, our initial angle, ends in quadrant 3. That means that our reference angle is going to be formed by the terminal angle here and the x-axis here. Okay, what if we're in quadrant 4? Well, that means our initial angle went all the way around here, and now our reference angle is going to be right there. Beautiful. Okay, so let's look at some specific examples. We're going to sketch the given angle with rotation. We're going to show the direction it's going. Then we're going to draw in the reference angle and determine its measure. All right, so these are always going to start on the positive x-axis. This is a positive 97, so I'm going counterclockwise, roughly 97 degrees. That's what showing the rotation is. Then we're going to draw in the reference angle. So remember, the reference angle always uses the terminal side and the part of the x-axis that's closest to it, which would be right here. So this is the reference angle. We've got to find its measure, though. Okay, so think about this. If I'm looking at quadrants 1 and 2, all the way around here is 180 degrees because it's half of a circle. So if my initial angle is 97, in order to find the reference angle, all I have to do is take 180 and subtract 97 from it. And that gives me 83 degrees. That's what my reference angle is. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay, second example. I've got negative 192 degrees. So I start on the positive x-axis, and I'm going to move clockwise through quadrant 4 and 3 up through part of quadrant 2, because that is more than 180 degrees. So that is showing my rotation right there. And then what I need to do is I need to discern which one is the reference angle. Well, it's going to use this terminal side and the x-axis closest to it. So that would be this one right here. So for this one, since I've got 192 degrees total, I'm going to subtract 180 degrees from that, which would be this half right here, which would leave me with my reference angle. So my reference angle is 192 minus 180, which would be 12 degrees. Awesome. Okay, now we're going to look at 300 degrees here. So again, I start with the positive x-axis. I'm going to move counterclockwise 300 degrees. Now I have to find my reference angle. It's going to use this and the x-axis closest to it, which would be this right here. So the reference angle is going to equal the whole circle all the way around 360 minus this right here, which would be 300. So that's 60 degrees. Excuse me. Okay, let's look at radians. Oh my goodness, these are going to be fun. All right, starting on the positive x-axis. All right, if I've got a denominator of 6, that means I'm splitting up the top half into 6 equal pieces. So 1 pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6, 4 pi over 6, 5 pi over 6, 6 pi over 6. That's what that looks like. All right, so if it's 5 pi over 6, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my angle is this right here. That means that my reference angle needs to use this and this. Well, that measure right there is just pi over 6 radians. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.